Later life can be a wonderful chapter, but life doesn't always go according to plan. The sad reality is that thousands of people a year are diagnosed with dementia. We spoke to the Alzheimer Society about measures to reduce risk and to ask whether there's hope on the horizon.
Dr. Iain Hartnell from the Alzheimer Society, thank you so much for joining us today. Obviously, we know there is no cure for Alzheimer's, but there are now medical breakthroughs. So are you feeling optimistic about the future?
Yeah, this is the most hopeful time that there has been for dementia since Alzheimer's Society started. We now have 2 drugs approved in the UK by the MHRA. They're not approved for the NHS, but they're approved for use in the UK. This is really hopeful. They're called donanemab and lecanemab. That has led to breakthroughs in diagnosis as well. So now blood testing is being researched, and Alzheimer's Society are partners in a programme called the Blood Biomarker Challenge, which is trying to get a blood test for Alzheimer's or other dementias into the NHS. And this will get people diagnosed much quicker because they can just go to the GP to have their blood tested. And then if the marker shows that they do look like they have a form of dementia, then they can perhaps get slightly more invasive tests, but that blood test in the future might even be enough by itself.
And in terms of prevention, are there things that we can do to possibly prevent getting dementia or Alzheimer's?
Well, based on a report that was commissioned by Alzheimer's Society recently, we know about 50% of cases of dementia can be either delayed or prevented by lifestyle changes. The report looked into lots of different factors that could affect somebody's risk of dementia, and they outlined 14 different factors. They range from some medical things like high blood pressure, diabetes, hearing loss, to things like smoking, drinking excess alcohol, and other things like air pollution. And lots of these things can be mitigated. There are the lifestyle changes that people do, doing more exercise. We know that what's healthy for the heart is also healthy for the brain, because blood vessels are involved in dementia, and keeping your blood vessels healthy is another good way. So that exercise, eating healthily and things like that.
And I mean, this is an incredible statistic. More than half of UK adults know someone with a dementia diagnosis now, and yet we know there's still often a stigma. Why do you think that is?
I think it's a lot of misunderstanding or lack of understanding about dementia. Partly it's to do with fear and fear around dementia. It's totally understandable. It's not a nice disease. But there are lots of people like Alzheimer's Society who people can go to for support to help them live for longer in their homes, help them manage all of those daily tasks and things like that, and also connect them with other people with dementia so they can be with people who understand what they're going through.
Do you worry that some people are sort of reluctant to come forward and maybe suffering in silence?
I believe so. We think about a third of people that are living with dementia in the UK actually don't have a diagnosis. That could be partly because they live alone and so they aren't aware that they have a problem, or there must be a lot of people who understand that they have a problem, perhaps don't know what it is, but also too scared to find out what it is, because up until these drugs were announced, there wasn't any disease-modifying drug, so any drug that could slow down the progression of the disease that was available in the UK.
But I suppose your message is there is a lot of hope for the future.
Yeah, there is hope for the future. There are about 20 other drugs in late-stage clinical trials, some of which look quite hopeful in terms of their ability to help slow down the progression of the disease whilst also being safe. So that's really hopeful, as well as the diagnosis piece and getting blood tests into the NHS, which will make getting a diagnosis in the first place much easier.
Dr. Iain Hartnell, thank you so much.
Thank you.